So, welcome out, Zirene. This is Preach. I am going to ask you a little bit about your casting history, and I'd like to thank you for coming here and joining me today. We've been friends for a while, but this is our first time really talking as you've been a Riot employee. Riot? Riot.
Riot.
Riot,
Rito,
please.
please. I'm not actually a Riot employee, so because
Okay.
I don't have Riot in front of my name. I'm contracted. So,
All right. Well, thank you for explaining that to
so
us.
they still have the opportunity to fire me if I do something wrong. Like it'd just be pretty easy too. They'd just be like, "Nah, we're just not gonna renew your contract." So,
Perfect. So, you are contracted, and you will be casting the Challenger series as long as you don't, you don't
fuck it up.
anger the Riot gods.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Cool. So I would like to ask you just about how you've been casting. So how did you get started?
My first cast was I'm a Diamond One player, Diamond One, Diamond Two. Low Diamond One. I'll put it that way. High Diamond Two, because things happen and people happen. So I ended up getting into casting because I was going to the University of California, Irvine. I joined their League of Legends club, which was very big. There was actually a collegiate feature on them, and they're very dedicated. And I won the first tournament that I was there in my junior year. So my first year I was there. I won the first tournament. It was the winter tournament, or fall? Winter tournament. It's winter tournament because they do quarters. But yeah, so I won that tournament, and then I decided to not do the next tournament because I had to focus on school. I had to keep my GPA up, which I was going to graduate summa cum laude with 3.9 GPA and
Oh.
quit to go into esports. So what ended up happening was I got an offer to shoutcast the games because they were going to be on stream, and I decided to do that just to try it. My friend, some guy 1144, was casting, and I had won the previous tournament with him, and he was just casting for shits and giggles because somebody asked him to. And I was like, "Get me in on the Skype call, man. I want to try it. Let's do it." So I did, and then the president of the club, Ernest, said, "I want more of that. Let's get more of that in here." So I just continued to cast what they were doing, and I found out that I really liked it. I really enjoyed it, and I couldn't stop doing it. So I would just cast random games. I wanted to get involved as much as I could and find like bigger and better gigs and better games to cast. Like I wanted to cast challenger level things like this. So that's how I got started on it, and I haven't really put it down since. So it was really just this nice mishap. And the funny thing is that I didn't participate in that tournament because I wanted to focus on school, but I ended up using more time because when you play in a tournament, you only have to play like one out of the five games, right? Because it's like group stages and shit. When you're casting it, you have to be there for every damn game. So I wasted 5 times more of my time actually casting the game than playing in it.
And not only that, you wanted to do it so you could focus on school, and then you ended up leaving school for
I ended up
esports.
at school. Yeah.
So so you started casting that. How did you find more tournaments to shoutcast? How did you kind of put yourself out there?
So there's a wonderful little girl. Uh, I call her a little girl, but she's actually a college student. So her name's Lanvi Win, and she became a good friend of mine, and so did her boyfriend, I John Mai, and we would like hang out all the time. And then she got involved in this organization called the College of Casting that was started by Dylan Hornibrook, and he had this thing going on with Georgia Tech and a lot of the East Coast, and he wanted to expand it. And Lanvi really hopped on board with that and said, you know what, we should bring that to the West Coast, to Irvine. There's a lot of people here involved in League of Legends, and that's what happens. So they expanded to the West Coast, and we started making little sections. So Lanvi became the vice president of that. I became the West Coast administrator, even though I don't know anything about administration. I only know things about casting. So that happened, and College of Casting really just started getting thrown gigs from all over that needed casters. And it was like Good Guy Gaming was coming to us. There was like an Alienware secondary stream thing, and then eventually I established myself. I'll hold the for a second. For in a second, I established myself as one of the casters in there that's going to do hard work and that's going to continue to work. And Dylan took notice of that, and that's why he gave me the West Coast admin position, even though I've never done anything with that. I've just sat there and had it as a title. And when things like Ivy Law came up, I was one of the people that he was able to rely on. Like Dylan wants casters he can rely on that and that are going to work. He will give you, things if he thinks you are going to represent the College of Casting in the best possible way. Because he's like, once you grow, it's going to cause the college casting to grow, and all these great things are going to come out. So he made good friends with Michael Sherman from Ivy Law, and they ended up uh, starting to run things together. So they started providing casters for Ivy Law, and I was one of them. And then Michael Sherman got picked up by wellplayed.org, and I got to cast that for them, the spring promotional qualifiers. And actually, just jump back a little bit, the spring promotional or one of the spring promotional qualifier like slots, one of the 3 slots for the promo tournament, was open from the PAX Gamescom stream from Well Played, and College of Casting got the rights to do a B stream because there were just so many damn teams in that. There were like 30 some odd teams, 32. And so they handed us like half the games, the uninteresting games, not the ones that had big names in them. And so I cast that. And then I got to know the Well Played people, and then that was a name that came up, my name, when Michael Sherman joined them and they were looking for a new caster. So I got thrown into that. So it's just been this whirlwind of a year and a half of casting. And before that, I was an actor with 5 years of stage experience and a psychology major. So, yeah.
Okay. That's very interesting. And then finally, you're here. What was it like tonight? Have you had quite a lot of practice with most of the Riot casters?
Not with Jat, not with Kobe, because they are analysis casters. So they will watch me and say things they like and don't like, and tell me to change stuff, or if I did something incorrect, or what I should do here instead, or if I should focus on narrative, etc. So they're big sources of feedback. Rivington I've cast with multiple times. He's very easy to cast with, and sets things up for you so that you can knock him out of the park. And he has good game knowledge, but doesn't always show it because he likes to just toss people bones and make them look great, which makes him look even better. So I love that guy. Freak, I love him too. Freak is amazing. I've cast with him not as many times as I've cast with Riv, because Riv has just been around a little bit more. And Freak is very hardworking and does a lot of the stats stuff for the challenger scene. So I mooched a bunch of his notes. Not really. We actually worked together throughout the week on them. So we're doing a lot of notes together and a lot of crunching and numbers and things like that, and looking at people's champion pools and what they've been playing. So yeah, working with Freak is very interesting. It's very different than working with Rivington, but it's also very good. So they both have good things about them, and I wouldn't say really like bad things, but there's just different dynamics, and that's what you're going to get with everybody, right?
Right. And so when you're working with Freak, have you been kind of thrown a loop by the puns, or has it been fun to just jump right in it?
At first, after one of my first practices with Freak, actually I think my first practice with Freak, this was my note, was that I shut him down too much. Like Freak would say something like, "And why did the banana cross the road?" And it's just like, "Oh, to get to banana wedding dress." And I would go, "All right, moving back onto the game." And I would shut him down. I wouldn't even like bounce off of him. So my first note was I don't bounce off of Freak enough. I don't bounce off his puns, because I had practiced with Rivington like 3 or 4 times before that. And Rivington's jokes he has most of the color commentary and allows you to do a lot of the analysis, right? He'll throw in something in the middle of his play-by-play, like, "Oh, that was awesome," or "Oh, he's coming," like, "Let it ride, let it ride." Like, he's got a lot of the excitement to it, right? He's that guy. He's also got a lot of the color role inside of his play-by-play. Whereas Freak is a little more towards the analysis side, but a lot of puns in his color. So it's different, and I wasn't ready for it when I first encountered it, but then things just started building after that, and when I was able to just open up and allow him to do his thing and just jump on the bandwagon with it. So.
Okay, very cool. So we'll be seeing a lot more of you and Freak, or you and Riv, or a mix?
Riv is purely LCS. Freak is purely challenger scene. So
okay. All right.
It will be me and Freak all the time until I get fired. Or until some switch arounds happen, which, when pastry time comes, things will probably start mixing up. So pastry time is still coming.
Okay.
So don't worry about that.
And in case they bring me in to cast with you,
Yeah.
Hey, maybe one day. But for now, I'm excited to see you and Freak. That was a lot of fun tonight. I think we all had a really good time. So I'm just kind of curious, just for people, because there are so many people trying to get into shoutcasting, and it's exciting since League of Legends is growing so big. Just kind of what advice do you have for people that are just starting out, that are just getting into casting, that really want to talk about this game?
Sorry, I was like tapping my keyboard.
Not a problem.
The advice that I have to people who want to be shoutcasters that are just getting into it, is that the question? Sorry.
Yes, yes, that's precisely
Okay.
it.
So, first word of advice is do it. There are games that you can spectate right off the bat, and that's fantastic. So, do it. Just get in there and do it because there's nothing else like it in the entire world. You can do sports commentary. It's different. It's a little more relaxed, and you sit back and you're just like, oh, looks like we have Bobby Boucher on the field. He's going to be bringing up this. We've seen a lot of passes to him, so things like that. But when you do league, there's a level of excitement and narrative to the game. Do a lot of research on the teams and the people that are playing when it becomes an event and set up a narrative around the game like, oh, they both have great bottom laners. What's going to happen here? That's the head-to-head matchup, and that's why the LCS does that. So my first tip is practice your ass off and just do it. My second word of advice is that work on your voice and cadence and your knowledge. Just make sure you know what you're talking about. Say, even if you're saying something incorrect, say it with conviction. Like today, I said NID instead of TBD like 3 or 4 times. And I just said it with conviction. That freak didn't even call me out on it. He could have. He's very well could have called me out on that, but he didn't. Because if you say something with such conviction, even if you're wrong, it's still going to come across and not ruin the moment. Because if you go, I think it might have been NID, it takes away from it and it doesn't matter. It's not a huge relevant point and things like that. So just have confidence in what you're saying. So yeah, just do it. Work on your knowledge, confidence, and voice. So work on your voice too. There's a lot of things that we do in casting that are improv games with each other for synergy, and we do a lot of vocal warm-up stuff. So even before the cast, we're all there going like buzzing our lips. Jat spat on somebody one time by accident. So it's things like that, and we're sitting there. There was a Vine where everybody's loosening up their jaw. They have like their hands together, and they're going.
I think we've all seen that
Yeah,
one.
because they're just loosening up, and it's totally fine to be like that. Like if you're going to do your job, be okay with doing vocal warm-ups and things that might be silly. So yeah, just give over to it and have fun is very important too. Have fun, but that comes with whether or not you like it. Because there are people out there who don't know if they like shoutcasting. So that's my first word of advice, of course, was to do it. If you don't like doing it, then it's not for you. Because I was an actor for a long time, and I got out because my acting teacher always said, if it's not fun anymore, then you need to stop doing it. Because there are other people who live and breathe this stuff. They read plays for fun. And now I watch games and I do research on League for fun. So Riot hired me to do what I did for free is pretty much the whole thing. So like everything you do every day and the passion that you've put into it is something that people can't really overlook. And as you get better, I'm positive you're going to get more and more job offers for you. So
Okay. Well, thank you for the words of wisdom. Is there anything else you'd like to say? Any shout outs you'd like to give to people who have helped you along the way, or just anyone who is right now with you helping you out?
thanks, Mom, for giving birth to me. Thanks, Dad, for getting it on with her. Um, Thanks to Wombat for really like he loosened me up a lot for working there because I was really uptight with my analysis and really just kind of like, oh, just the facts, ma'am, and not a lot of personality to it. And Wombat kind of broke that down, and I played kind of like I would sit there every time he's casting, and I would kind of take notes, like, oh, that's so good, he does that so well. So every time you cast with somebody, there's always a positive quality and a takeaway from them. Like you're like, oh, Jat's very analytical and a hard worker. Kobe's always having some fun with what he does. And some people have these extremes in what they're known for. And like Freak has puns and he enjoys them. He's confident what he says. He never apologizes for a bad joke, even if he knows it's bad. His apology won't even be like, oh, I'm really sorry, you guys. It'll be like, hey, I'm sorry, kind of like he's not really sorry, right? So he's having fun with it. So Freak brings a lot of confidence, and he can't do any wrong to himself. And Rib just has great flow and cadence and selflessness. So every time you cast with somebody, there's always a takeaway for them, and just a little nugget of what's good about them that you can learn from. So it's always a learning experience, and always look forward in what you're doing. And I'm going back to the previous question, but yeah. So yeah, no, shout outs to everybody that watched. I think the new caster Zirene thing is number one right now on the subreddit, probably for controversial, but it's very crazy to see all of this happening. And I know that change is weird and that people, aren't always welcoming of it. And the fact that this is a thing right now is, not just a big thing because it's me, but it's a big thing because I'm glad that the community is open to things like this and that I'm not being completely shut out and that people seem to have a good positive response. So, shout out to all my fans and everybody who's been along with me. Shout out to Ankle Spankin on YouTube. Awesome dude. Really awesome dude. You should check him out. He was a good friend of mine. It is a good friend of mine, actually. I haven't seen him in a bit. But yeah, I have a lot of my humor is aligned with his humor. So, really awesome dude.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Well,
Shout outs to you for
hey,
having me on.
thank you. No, I'm excited to have you. I'm excited to learn more about you and to join you in your journey here, casting that Challenger League. And so I will thank you for your nuggets, Irene. Thank you for your presence and your lovely face.
Everybody thanks me for my nuggets.
Oh yeah, we keep you around for it at least. And
That's what they'll say.
so I will say good night to you now.
No. Good night.
All right, cool. Well, that's enough to cut it for the